Hello, and here is my review of Batman v Superman. I apologize. I promised this video about 3 weeks ago. Due to various reasons, I haven't been able to. But here it is. I am looking forward to talking about this film. There is so much I want to talk about. This is going to be a spoiler review. One of my most anticipated films of the year, next to Star Wars Rogue One. Did I love it? No. Did I hate it? No. I liked Batman v Superman. I enjoyed Batman v Superman. But I didn't love the film. I didn't adore the film like I wanted to. I do think a lot of the negative reviews on this film have been a little bit over the top. A bit exaggerated. This is not half as bad as most critics are making this out to be. I'm actually quite surprised with the Rotten Tomatoes score, which I believe is 28% at the moment. It's really not that bad a film. Yes, the film have got a lot of problems, but there's a lot of positives about the film as well, and I fancy that's why so many people have kind of just come out to this film thinking, it was okay. You had half of the film which was riddled with problems, and then you had this other half which was like, but that was good, that was cool, that was amazing, and it's made me look forward so much more to this director's cut, because I think the film was so choppy, especially the first half an hour, the first 30 minutes of the film was kind of like taking you, you were in one scene for a few minutes and then all of a sudden you were in a completely different scene, and it was like, whoa, hold on a minute now. And I think the reason to that was probably because of there being so much actually cut from the film to begin with. Maybe. I don't know, I'm just speculating. But I read only yesterday, in fact, that this film was actually supposed to have been 4 hours long. Now, if that's true, that should explain the very choppy editing in this film. And if there is a 4-hour cut out there, I want to see it. Because I do feel, I sat for mainly the first hour of this film thinking, this stuff missing from this. And to me it was obvious. Especially it was the first scene in Africa. I believe it was Africa anyway. I've seen the film 3 times, mind. 2 standard viewings and the one in the IMAX in London. Very, very good experience. I do recommend that if you haven't seen Batman v Superman in IMAX yet, see it, because it was amazing. Probably the best experience to actually watch this film in that format is IMAX. The first scene when Superman lands into the bunker and rescues Lois Lane, I just felt like there was so much more to that scene. I thought you could tell it would just been a chunk of whatever story there had been was taken away from it. And after reading a couple of interviews about the cutting of the film and the editing of the film, they have in fact said, I think Zack Snyder himself have said, that the African scene at the beginning was cut quite a bit. So there is a part of me that kind of feels like I should wait for this director's cut before doing a review, before giving my final verdict on this film. But what I probably end up doing is a separate review for that. I'm not sure if my verdict will change as much, because it depends on what's in these 30 minutes that changes the film. I mean, this 30 minutes is a lot of film. It's an awful lot to actually put back in. But it can also be, it might not even make the slightest bit of difference. Personally, I hope it changes how very choppy the editing is, but injects a bit more character development, because that was another problem this film had, and that was character development, and I'm hoping that's what this 30 minutes does. Another problem was the story. They tried putting so much in. For me, the story is like the pillars of a film, of the film, and if you try to cram too much in, a good example of this might be, I'd say, Spider-Man 3 or The Amazing Spider-Man 2 even. Those pillars start to crumble, and that's what happened to this film. The story they tried doing so much. The story shifted from what I thought was quite a good political thriller, you could call it, which was the first, I'd say, 60 minutes of the film. And then it tries to set up the Justice League, and it tried really hard to set the Justice League up, and that's one thing I was hoping this film wouldn't do, was focus too much on what DC are about to do. And I feel like that's when the story just crumbled away, and we lost that story, that kind of what I thought would have been an interesting lead up into the Batman and Superman confrontation. And I think as a result, that fight lost the emotional kind of gravity that it should have had. It was still a good fight. It was still a good scene. The way to be honest, how this film looks entirely is beautiful. I love how the film was shot. I love Zack Snyder's style, and how he shot that confrontation was beautiful. I really, really liked it, but it just lacked that emotional kind of pull that it should have had. Yeah, it also looked like it'd been ripped from the pages of Frank Miller's comic The Dark Knight Returns, but it still just didn't have that emotional pull, and I think that's what it needed. And if the film, the 2.5 hours of Batman v Superman, was made up of what the film started with, which was the political aspect of the film, of having, you know, the question of, should we have this man, this super being from another planet, should he not be governed by us or not? All that kind of like very interesting kind of questions that, if this happened in the real world, would impose. And then have that lead up into what is the confrontation with Batman v Superman, then end the film. I think this would have been a much better film. I didn't want to sit there watching, to be honest with you, the setup to Justice League. This, for me, was a emotional battle between Superman and the people of Earth, and Batman with his own kind of demons, you could say, and, you know, should he stop this threat, which is danger basically to the planet. I mean, for me, that was the most interesting thing about this film, and that just got swept away with the setup for Justice League. I think that was simply this film's biggest problem. But yeah, the actual confrontation, this confrontation that we've been waiting for years to see on the screen, between Batman and Superman, was perfect. It was so well shot. I loved how it looked. It was great. I had a big grin on my face all the way through it. But I do also hope that the injection of this 30 minutes, like the scenes at the beginning with Africa, I mean, it just adds a bit more to these scenes. Because I think that's what they were missing, to be honest. They were missing a bit more. It was like you'd have this kind of very good scene, and then all of a sudden, gone. And it's like, I want more. And they just kept cutting away, I think, at the wrong moment. So I'm hoping that's what this 30 minutes does do. So yeah, the big problems for me with this film were it was character development, editing, the story. Even though the story was there, they lose that story by shoving too much other stuff in, too many other stories. Well, I think as I was watching the film, I'm sure I counted about 3 to 4 different storylines that had been shoved into the film. And the script, which I think was, to be honest, it wasn't the best script. Some of the dialogue that the characters to say in this film did make me cringe a little. There were 1 or 2 scenes I was like, oh, they could have reworded that slightly. But that's nothing against the actors playing these characters, because one of the big positives about this film for me was the actual performances. I don't think there was one bad performance in this film. I actually enjoyed watching Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I know I might be one of very few, but I dug that performance, to be honest. Jesse Eisenberg, I did dig it, even though it was a Lex Luthor that I didn't want to see. I kind of wanted to see more of a kind of, how can I describe it, more of a kind of like a bulkier version, kind of more along the lines of Smallville Lex Luthor. but I liked what Jesse Eisenberg done, and I think he deserves a little bit more credit than he's been getting for that particular performance. But from everyone else, Ben Affleck, I think he blew me away. As far as I'm concerned, he is the best Batman. I think that's a bit of a bold statement, but yeah, I've grown up loving the Batman character. I've watched the Adam West TV show. I grew up watching Tim Burton's films, so I've seen Adam West, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney. You've got Christian Bale, and as much as I adore the Dark Knight trilogy, and as much as I adore Christian Bale's portrayal of Batman, for me, Ben Affleck is the definitive Batman. Some of the best moments in this film were scenes involving Batman. It kind of almost made me feel like when I was watching it, I was wishing, oh, why didn't Zack Snyder just do a Batman film? I mean, that's what I think we kind of forget in here, is that everyone is kind of praising Ben Affleck as Batman, and yeah, he does an astounding job. He's absolutely great in there, as Heath Ledger did to me when I first seen The Dark Knight. His performance as the Joker, it blew me away. Same thing here. I was very on the fence with Ben Affleck being cast as Batman. I wasn't happy with it. I seen the trailers, kind of made me think, oh, perhaps I might be wrong. You know, maybe I should just sit on the fence with this one. Seeing the film, he blew me away. He was absolutely great. But I believe that it was Zack Snyder's direction that really helped you. We got to give him, Zack Snyder, credit for that. And yeah, I know people are like kind of cheering that Ben Affleck is not only starring in his own solo Batman film, but he's writing and directing it. But I think Zack Snyder would direct a really, really good Batman film. But as obviously he's busy with the Justice League films, so personally, if I had my way, I would probably like to give the Batman solo film to Zack and let George Miller direct the Justice League films. I think that would be a good move, actually, but that's just my personal opinion. We got Henry Cavill, who's returned as Superman. I think he's absolutely perfect as Superman. I just think he looks the part. He plays the part very well. You got Gal Gadot, or Gadot. I'm not sure exactly how that's pronounced, but she was absolutely amazing as Wonder Woman. She's not in there quite a bit. She's kind of in brief moments, to be honest. So she's actually the only kind of part of the introduction to the Justice League that I actually liked about this film. If they just left, if they just left Wonder Woman in there, but kind of ignored everything else, like the shoehorning of Cyborg and Aquaman, if they just left that alone and just kept with the Wonder Woman introduction, I loved it. I think that was perfect, to be honest with you. One of the other big positives about this film was Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. We have Amy Adams as Lois Lane again. I actually preferred her performance in this film than to Man of Steel. I thought she gave much more of a solid performance in this film. And I have a lot of complaints about the use of a character in this film, but I actually quite liked it. I thought her performance in Man of Steel was quite bland, to be honest with you. But no, I definitely think in this film she was so much better. I enjoyed her character so much more, and I think a character served a purpose. I think I liked what they did with her in this film. I mean, you could say, yeah, she was just there, you know, she was there to get something. She's in trouble, Superman comes to save her, and yeah, that kind of does happen a lot, but I think it gives that ending to the film a bit more impact. I loved the Batmobile. I loved the design of the new Batmobile, but I loved that entire chase scene that we had through the warehouses. There was a bit of people are complaining about Batman killing in this film. I think this film did a pretty good job at explaining why Batman's killing without actually shoving it in your face. Again, I might be one of very few people that think that, but I think for me the reason why Batman did what he was doing in this film is he basically himself had turned into a monster. Obviously, this is based after the events of the death of Robin, and you kind of see Bruce Wayne looking at Robin's suit, and I think everything that happened to him at that point in life, like they've referenced it themselves in the film, whereas the good guys eventually turn bad, and I think and they did that a few times. I mean, Alfred even himself mentions it about good guys turning mean, or the best of us eventually turn mean, and I can understand why. He was snapping necks and he was being brutal, but I think he was in that point in his life, and for me that was explained. Yeah, I got it, and I didn't feel like we needed someone to stand there and go, "Oh, why are you killing people, Batman?" And then for Batman to explain it, it's like, no, I like that. And at first, when I heard the reviews before going in, and I was very against it. I was like, Batman doesn't kill. That kind of destroys everything Batman stands for. But when I watched the film, especially on the second viewing, I noticed a lot of the references to it. And yeah, I said, yeah, I understood it. I think if I was at that point in my life too, and, I'd lost these people, and yeah, I think fuck it. I do actually think some of the best lines in this film also come from Alfred, who, again, perfect casting. Jeremy Irons as Alfred. I mean, for me, yeah, the best Alfred. I thought, as soon as I heard Jeremy Irons was cast as Alfred, I thought, yes, perfect. And the last kind of action scene, the last fight, you could say, the confrontation between Doomsday. Now, when I first seen Doomsday in the trailer, the first thing I thought was, oh, Abomination from The Incredible Hulk. I wasn't particularly fond of the design. When Doomsday keeps getting injured, and he's obviously transforming, and he's getting bigger, and he's getting stronger, I had the biggest smile on my face. That moment where he actually comes through the flames, and it's like, now he looks like Doomsday. And I really like that. I like the fight. I feel like people, again, like, complaining about the use of CGI in this film. I mean, I don't think you could have really pulled that kind of last 10 minutes... 15 minutes off without the use of CGI, but I don't think it was too much CGI. I kind of liked it. I'm someone that's kind of very against the overuse of CGI. If you can use a practical effect, do it. I love models. I wish films today would actually use more models. But I love that moment where Wonder Woman is holding Doomsday down, and then you get Batman, who plays his part in the confrontation, where he fires the it's like a kryptonite gas, you could call it, that weakens Doomsday. And that kind of shot where it hits him, it reminded me of Jason and the Argonauts. Those kind of model, at that moment, it kind of didn't really look CGI. I mean, I think the effects were quite good. I liked how they did Doomsday. It reminded me, there were moments that reminded me of those kind of older films where they used stop motion animation, and yeah. And then, yeah, we get the well, I think it's the fourth or fifth storyline injected into the film, which is the death of Superman. I liked how they did it. The third time round, I'm going to admit it, I did actually have tears running down my face. There's something about that scene that really does pull on, well, my heartstrings anyway. But I just loved the way the way Zack Snyder shot it. It just looked beautiful. Again, this film just looks really nice. I mean, you can't really complain on the look of the film. And that shot, where, for me, the best shot, my favourite shot of the entire film, is when Superman is dead. He's on the floor, and you've got Lois Lane just below him, and then there's Wonder Woman kind of just like looking away, and then you've got Batman, and he's looking at Wonder Woman, and that final shot of, well, the four of them, I think was perfect, and it kind of just, it really did pull on the heartstrings a little bit, especially with the score. I thought the score was quite nice. I really liked the score, to be honest with you, especially Wonder Woman's theme. That's perfect. I think that was probably my favourite score in the entire film, is Wonder Woman's theme. As a fan of both characters, mainly Batman, I am he's my favourite comic book hero, to be honest with you. But as a fan, I did really enjoy this film. I didn't come out loving it like I really wanted to. I'm not gonna lie, after the first viewing I was a little bit disappointed. But after the second viewing, I enjoyed it much more because I wasn't constantly trying to dissect the film and trying to analyze the film. And I think the second time round, I just took it, and no, I had a lot of fun with it. I do enjoy it. I can't say this film really deserves a lot of the negative feedback that it's had. It's not a terrible film. There are a lot more worse films out there than this, and it was a good film. It was just okay. I just wish they hadn't focused so much on the Justice League or setting up the Justice League. Okay, I suppose Doomsday does, and the death of Superman does play an important part in that, but they could have maybe have left it for the next film. Maybe that could have ended the Justice League Part 1. See, I feel like they just crammed so much into this. There's a few more things I don't want to say. There was a couple of moments that made me cringe just as I wrapped the video up. I forgot to mention the film opens with obviously Bruce Wayne's parents getting murdered. That's something that people have whinged about. It's like, oh, really? Again? Do we really need to see that? I think it played an important part in this film, to be honest. I loved how... it's my favourite version of those events that were shot for a live-action film. I liked what Zack Snyder did. I just loved how it looked, and I loved how it was shot, and how they used that then for pretty much Batman. Well, he's about to kill Superman, and Superman utters the words, the same name of his mother, which is Martha. And even though I wish that was handled a bit better, again, that's going back to the script. I think the script just made me cringe a little bit in places, and that was one of those moments where Superman utters Martha, and it's like, oh, really? But the film, as I watch it a few more times, I've kind of warmed to that moment, but I just wish they could have handled it a bit different. But in another way, I did actually kind of like it that they used the death of Batman's parents, and it kind of made him think, whoa, hang on a minute now. But I think that transition of Batman hating Superman all the way up to that point, and then all of a sudden, he's jumping on Superman's mother and going, don't worry, I'm your son's friend. It's like, whoa, where did that come from? It's like, that kind of transition was a bit too fast for me, and I think they could have handled that a bit better. That is probably my biggest kind of gripe about the film, in fact, was those two moments. It's like, oh, it really made me cringe. The grade I'm going to be giving Batman v Superman, I've had about 3 weeks to think about this. It's pretty much, it is the same grade that I gave it after my first viewing, in fact. I've seen it 3 times, and I still think this is probably the best and fairest result I could give this film. And it's a C+. It's an okay film, and I think I wish I could have I loved it more, but I just there was too much of a mess. There was too many problems. Did it detract from me enjoying it? No. As a fan, I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm not gonna sure if that's gonna change with the director's cut, but I am actually really looking forward to the director's cut. So yeah, thank you for watching. This has gone a bit too long, but hopefully I'll probably do an in-depth discussion about it at some point, because there is so much more I want to say about this film. But yeah, thank you for watching.